This week I read chapter 11 in Bartle and Sherbert, and I also worked on a few problems in chapter 2. I'm going to talk briefly about how Bartle and Sherbert does topology. So if we go into the book, it's actually, this is the only chapter in the entire plan that I have for reading multiple books of real analysis and complex analysis, mostly real. So, but it's really still mathematical analysis. It includes both. I wish Bartle and Sherbert had included this chapter the way that Baby Rudin does it, where in this case it would have been a chapter 3. There's already a chapter 1 and 2 that go before this. When I read this, of course, in my own case, I've already read enough, I think, a good amount on real analysis and complex analysis, and done enough problems where whatever callbacks there are in this chapter, going back to the rest of the book, going back to chapters 2, 3, 4, 5, I think I saw a callback to chapter 8, a callback to chapter 10. I'm okay with it because it's all fair game. Everything is fair game for myself. But in your case, if you were taking this book for a class, I seriously doubt any class will take you to chapter 11. Yeah, I think most classes would do everything else, and then chapter 11 would be like, well, read it on your own if you can. That's just how, talking about organization for the book. But then about the content, I love the way Bartle and Sherbert discuss this material. I had gone through it in Wade, of course, way back when. But I really like how they have examples, many examples, to all the various proofs. Of course, the counter set, which is a standard fair. And then a very nice proof of the Heim-Borel theorem, for which I'm going to make a separate video just because I find it interesting. And then some very interesting examples when they deal with covers and subcovers of what in some cases does constitute a subcover, a finite subcover, and what in some cases does not. I found this priceless. Some continuous function material. The metric spaces material, very well explained. I loved it. I wish there was more. In the case of Bartle and Sherbert, because their explanations are always so well done, I always want more. But very useful counter example here. So that was chapter 11 in the book, and that was my progress. Now, when it comes to the problems, I'm only going to show this last page just to mention that I'm at page 42 of my problems for chapter 2, but I'm going to wait until I work on all of them and grade them, or however many I do, just because I want to do them in one shot. I don't want to have 7 videos where I talk about chapter 2 problems. What I have started doing is putting in my notes all the chapters that I've covered in the book with hopes of working on all those problems. I haven't figured out with the sequence in which I'll do them completely, but I know that I'm working on Bartle and Sherbert problems chapter 2, and I think the next batch will be Mendelssohn, the number systems book, chapters 1 and 2, and maybe even 3, because I've already started reading chapter 3. Another thing that I've started doing is keeping a ratio of my problems pages versus my notes pages. Unlike courses where I just read one book and the book has a lot of problems, this ratio is not healthy in my opinion. I think math learning is all about the problems. And so my goal is to get this to 50%. I mean, there's a lot of duplicative reading, and really there aren't just enough problems to have like 200 pages of problems to 200 pages of notes. I don't think so. I'm going to try to solve as many problems as possible and attempt as many problems as possible. Anyways, back to the reading. So then in the case of the reading for Bartle and Sherbert, there's really not much to say that I haven't already said, but I'll go through my pages just to show you that I have drawn a few diagrams that are not in the book and gone through all the material. Nothing really, I didn't get stuck. I have already done the counter set before, although I like the way They show, Bartle and Sherbert show how each term is generated when you break it up. I think that was pretty well done here. Then, of course, for compactness, very well explained with counterexamples. And then I really like the way Bartle and Sherbert got it all together between Heim-Borel, then how compactness and convergence are related, and then how the Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem, a bounded sequence has a convergent subsequence, and then Heim-Borel compact means closed and bounded in both directions. How these theorems are all related. I really like the way they explain this, instead of just going through Heim-Borel and not even mentioning the relationship with Bolzano-Weierstrass and yet another theorem that they prove that actually is a result and is linked with all three. All three theorems are really linked. Yeah, some more diagrams and some more of the reading. Yeah, I really like the way they kept mentioning how various theorems are related to each other. And of course, as I said before, they could have done a lot more. And of course, I would have loved it if this material was earlier in the book. So there you have it. That is chapter 11, reading of Bartle and Sherbert.